So welcome everyone. This is a topic that Leanne and I are particularly excited to talk about because we're going to be able to share some real practical examples, some real life situations from small business owner clients that we've worked with and helped, just like you, some potential traps, and an amazing tool that we use to help overcome or prevent you from facing some of these traps so that you can grow your business successfully and faster. So welcome. Our theme today on the topic of how to grow your business successfully is going to focus on how to achieve your business vision. Some practical step-by-step formula that if you apply it in your own business is going to help you grow your business successfully and faster. So let's begin. We have a couple of housekeeping items we'd like to share with you. So first of all, if you're not familiar with our webinar format and the Zoom software, if you can post any questions you have in the Q&A box, please. And we have another one of our team members, Sandra, that will be noting these so that throughout our presentation today, we'll have an opportunity to answer your questions live. So please post them as soon as you think of them, and then we'll answer as many as we can with the time we have. And the other box is the chat box. So if you have some comments you'd like to share with Leanne and myself, or you'd like to share with the rest of the attendees here, if you set your chat box to all attendees and panelists, all of us here today will be able to benefit from your insightful comments. So please take advantage of those two ways of communicating with us today. And as you're familiar with the presentation team, Leanne and I, we're both specialists in our field. Leanne is a cloud accounting specialist and operations leader at Cloud Business Services, and I'm the founder of our public accounting firm. And together, we work together to provide what we hope you'll find to be an insightful series of webinars. So perhaps I'll introduce myself a little bit. So if you haven't had a chance to meet me yet, I'm David Pankwich. I've been in the public accounting field for a number of years, working with business owners of a variety of size, industry, really helping business owners step by step, practically do what they can so that their business grows and flourishes, to help them achieve the vision they had for their business when they started. And our mission statement, we really focus on small business owners. We find it most rewarding when we can help people like yourself on this call, who are entrepreneurs, who are small business owners, who started a business to help themselves and their families have a better life, to have more time and money to spend on themselves and their families, to have more freedom, to have a more flexible lifestyle and rewarding work. That's what we're all about. So that's our mission statement. And if you haven't already done so, we invite you to download the ebook. We designed an ebook specifically for you as a small business owner. We've seen some challenges and pain points that small business owners face as they're trying to grow their business. So please take advantage of downloading our ebook after our webinar today. If you haven't already done so, start reading it and start applying in your business right away, and you'll see good results if you do. And Leanne, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself and the firm that you're with.
Yeah, thanks, David. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this fabulous day. Excuse me. Yes, our firm is Cloud Business Services, And our team is comprised of 3 of us mainly, which is Tanya, who specializes in all of the high-end, year-end, and complex issues within our firm. Myself, I'm the operations leader. I take care of day-to-day as well as marketing, admin, and onboarding of all of our clients. And then Sandra, who you will meet on this call, she specializes in our client services, accounts receivable, HST, and payroll. Our goal within our firm very closely mirrors David's, which is that we look to provide top quality client service and make sure that everything for our clients is taken care of and compliant and audit proof for the CRA. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Leanne, for those comments. So as Leanne mentioned, both of our firms have a similar philosophy, a similar mission. And so some time ago, our 2 firms saw the wisdom of forming a strategic partnership together. And that's why the 2 of us representing our firms are here today. And we hope you'll benefit from our collective thoughts. Why did Leanne and I come together to provide this series of webinars? And it's really this philosophy that starting and growing a business is a journey. If you've been a business owner for some time, you know it's typically not an overnight success where everything's in place with a snap of your fingers. No, it's a journey. And when you think of any successful journey, maybe you've gone on a hike or you've gone traveling on a weekend, maybe to some place you've never been before. Before you think of our technology, how did we used to do it? Well, you needed to know where you were going to travel to. You needed to have some way of having a map, to have a path, and how helpful it would be if someone had already taken that journey before you, who could serve as a guide, who could share some tips to help you be successful on your journey. And so we feel that business is very much like that journey. It's important for you to have a destination in mind. So as a small business owner, where do you want to take your business? What's the vision for it? And then, how are you going to get there? You know where you are now. You know where you want to get to. Clearly, there's a gap there, a journey, a pathway needed. What are the clear steps to help you get there? Now, often business owners find it a challenge to get the steps in the right order to grow their business as fast and as successful as possible. And then a guide. So Leanne and I, in our teams and our firms, have helped many business owners on this journey, right from startup to successful, really profitable enterprise. So wherever you are in this journey, Leanne and I and our teams can help you. And so that's why we created this webinar series. So, you know, today we're going to zero in on some practical steps on how you can achieve your business vision. So we're going to look at 3 main areas. We like to have this expression as a motto, to see the end from the beginning. So that when we think of that journey again, it's like looking at that destination. Where do you want to get to? And when you have that clear in mind, then you can take the steps to get to that destination, to get to that end, from wherever you are now, which we call the beginning. And then we're going to talk about how you can identify what your sources of revenue will be, and some practical ways you can set targets. And then Leanne and I are going to share with you 3 common pitfalls, traps that startup businesses or early stage businesses face, and what you can do to avoid them, and a tool that our firm uses working with small business owners so that they can avoid these traps and grow a successful business. And as we mentioned, we look forward to answering your questions live. So let's get started. So, the theme of our webinar today is how to achieve your business vision. So it's important for you to know what we mean when we say a business vision. Okay, so we're going to talk about seeing the end from the beginning, and we're going to talk about targets and sources of revenue. So what's involved in mapping out or clearly identifying your business vision? So there are 5 main things to think about. Why are you in business in the first place? Why did you start your business? What is it that you can solve? What's that problem that's in the marketplace now that your business helps to solve? When you think of potential customers, what needs and wants do they have that are really unmet? There's no satisfying solution in the way or in the manner you can provide it. So you want to have that really clear in mind. What is the problem that's worth solving that your business can solve? Then you want to think of the second area is your solution. So how are you going to solve that problem that you just identified? You want to make sure it's clear. What is it your company is going to offer? Is there some way that your solution is unique? And is it possible that you're solving this solution in a way that's new or better? That could give you a competitive advantage, or something that attracts customers to your business from what other providers are making available. So that's the second thing you want to have clear in mind, your solution. Then you need to decide who are your ideal clients. So you want to think of your target market. Here are some questions to think about. Who might be a potential customer? Who ideally is the person or business that you'd like to serve? What might be the quantity of those types of prospects? And then you can do some market research, perhaps geographically or online. How are you going to be able to reach these individuals? And speak to those in the industry now. What knowledge do they have that can help you reach this target market and understand how you could provide your solution? You might even think of who in your area now could be a potential customer, and start talking to them about what their unmet needs and wants are. Then you could start thinking of, these are some potential sources of revenue. And you can decide just how much revenue each of those sources could provide to you at a given time. Then it's important for you to consider your sales channels. So how are you going to reach these prospects? How are you going to turn the prospects now into successful, happy customers? How will you advertise? There's a variety of questions for you to consider, and it's important that you clearly decide what your plan of action is going to be. And finally, the team. Who's going to be in your team? How many? What will be their role? What skills do they need? Will it be important for you to have people outside your business that you want to form special relationships with? Might there be a strategic supplier that can provide you with a competitive advantage or a unique way to provide this solution? So these are the 5 areas basically to think about when you think of your business vision. Once you've thought about the problem worth solving, how you're going to solve it in your solution, who you're going to solve it for in your target market, how you're going to deliver that solution through sales and marketing, And who are you going to use to deliver the solution? Your team and partners. You're set. You've got that clear fundamental business vision in place. So what then can you do? You can create what we call your one-page business plan. That truly and in reality is your business vision. In a nutshell, it encapsulates what it is you want to accomplish with your business and how you're going to do it. So how are you now going to achieve that business vision? That's what we'll consider in the next part of our webinar. And what we find very helpful at our firm is we have a special tool called Live Plan, and we're certified advisors in that area, where we use this tool to help business owners start with a blank sheet of paper and describe clearly what their business vision is, the categories you just saw us walk through, so that you have your own custom tailored one-page business plan. And after our webinar, we would be happy to connect with you to explain to you how it is we go about this process. And we think you'll be delighted with how straightforward and clear is the method that we have to help business owners. So now we'd like to ask if any of you on our call today have questions about what we've just shared, and Leanne and I are here to answer those questions for you.
Hi, David. The first question that we have here, and I just want to clarify for this, will slides be available with the recording?
Not in this particular webinar, but if you're looking for information about these slides, the information on it, we invite you to reach out to us, and we can answer any questions you have on the content of today's webinar.
Thank you. The next question is, should I have a vision statement?
So a vision statement is very helpful. Sometimes a vision statement ends up being a concise summary of that one-page business plan we just looked at. So a vision statement can give you a real clear focus and direction. You may decide that you come up with a vision statement before you put your one-page business plan together. It might give you some direction as to how to put that one-page business plan together. And then after you put that one-page business plan together, we invite you to go back to that vision statement and maybe make some tweaks or adjustments or refinements to it, so that you can, in about 30 to 60 seconds, tell anyone you meet who you'd like to introduce about your business that very clear vision statement. Leanne, is there something you'd like to add?
No, that definitely covers it, David. It's just very important. The decisions you're going to make in your business are going to be based on what you've got in that one-page plan. And if you have a statement that can concisely communicate that, it's also going to help you day to day, that you can go back to that and say, is it matching what I intended?
Very good.
And the last question we have is, how will a business advisor help to put out the one-page business plan and pull it all together?
So it can sound like a lot of work, but what we find helpful is we've developed a framework at our firm using this Live Plan software as a tool. We work with business owners together, and we thoughtfully, carefully go through each piece in a logical order. And at the end of this process, you have a finished product, a one-page business plan that you can use, as Leanne mentioned, as a reference point, as a document that you can constantly refer to make sure your business is staying on track, is staying true to that vision statement. And so we guide business owners through this process. And we find that business owners are delighted at the end because now they have something that works with them. And as we mentioned, it's called Live Plan. So it's a living document. It can always be adjusted and tweaked as business owners are on this journey to grow a successful business. And that's what we find helpful with this tool, is it can constantly be edited and revised as you explore new opportunities and see new ways of providing a solution. Leanne?
Yes, no, you've got it covered there.
Okay.
Okay, that's all the questions for now. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for those questions. Please keep them coming. That's one of the benefits of our live session, is you get to ask what's on your mind. What practical help would you like to have as you take your business forward? So now we're going to talk about how you can achieve that plan. The one-page business plan we just talked about. How can you achieve that business vision? And we're excited to talk about some practical ways that a business advisor can help you. So ideally, we suggest that you work as a small business owner with a trusted business advisor each month. If you wait a whole year before you get feedback on your business, you can see it's going to take a while for you to be able to make significant changes in your business. But if you're working with a trusted business advisor every month, you're going to have at least 12 different opportunities to make adjustments, refinements, enhancements to take your business forward. And so basically, a trusted business advisor can then work with you to take that business plan and create some numbers around it now. What kind of numbers? Well, typically, one of the first documents with numbers is a forecast. That's a prediction, a look into the future. What are you going to try to achieve over the next 12 months in your business? What might you accomplish in each of those months? What's realistic? What's attainable? And so we use this same Live Plan software to develop this forecast. So the whole process, as you can see, works very nicely together. Now, it's one thing to create this forecast, and it can be thoughtfully prepared. Now, how are you going to avoid some of the typical pitfalls and traps that a small business owner faces in their journey? So we're looking forward now to talking to you about these 3 traps that a small business owner can face. And so we're going to invite Leanne to introduce these traps, and then we'll talk about how they can be solved, and then a tool we use to help monitor your progress. So Leanne, what are some of these traps?
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Okay, so there's a lot of different scenarios that can come up in business, but what we wanted to do is create a scenario that you might be relating to right now. So trap number 1, we're talking about trapped money within your business. So with this first, I guess, scenario or problem in your business, the idea is you've got a number of customers with long payment terms and high credit limits. So what's happening within the business is that your accounts receivable continues to increase, and your cash is decreasing. So your business is making money. You have customers, they're buying whatever your service or product might be. This all sounds like great news. But so long as that accounts receivable number is climbing, the money is trapped because your payment terms are not collecting the money fast enough for your day-to-day cash flow. So what you really want to evaluate for your particular business, because it is going to be different in different businesses, is what are the proper credit terms? How quickly do you need to be collecting that money? What parameters do you need to put around it on all your customers so that you can ensure that, yes, you're making money and that's great, but if all that money is owed to you, how are you going to buy the supplies and products that you need? So this particular trap has two potential scenarios. So the next scenario with this trap is that you're looking at needing to buy materials. And so you're buying materials and you want to buy at lower cost. And so you purchase large amounts of inventory and you've saved money, which sounds wonderful. But if you have this excess inventory and the sales have not come through, the payments on the sales have not come through, there's less cash in the business. So you've paid for all this inventory. Let's give a number example. There's $100,000 of inventory sitting on your shelf and only $25,000 of it has gone out the door. You've got $75,000 of your cash locked up in that inventory right now. So what you really want to do in this case is you want to evaluate what you need. Buying in advance and getting materials at lower cost is a wonderful idea, but if you are locking that cash up for too long of a period, you may need to look at buying those materials in smaller amounts until you can get to a place in your business that it makes more sense to purchase those large bulk orders. Now, David's going to show us what this looks like on our books.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. So using this software tool that we refer to as Live Plan, let us show you what your books and records can produce for you. So using this product, connecting to QuickBooks Online, you can get a snapshot. So here, imagine this was your business. And when you take a look at this, you'll see the first 6 months in the 6 columns shown on the screen here. Everything looks good. Revenue is steadily climbing. You notice the top number for revenue is going up each month. That looks positive. You notice the net profit at the bottom. The bottom net profit line is continuing to go up from 1 month to the next. That looks positive, doesn't it? You can see the graph at the top shows you a picture, a diagram. Everything's moving, getting larger. That's what we want to see, don't we, in a growing business? Let's take a look at our next slide. It shows you the next 6 months, and the trend continues in a positive way. Revenue's going up at the top number on each row, and the net profit is going up at the bottom number in each column. That's positive. But Leanne mentioned there's a trap. Let's notice in our next slide, here's our balance sheet, okay? What's happening to our cash line? You see it, the third number from the top, cash. It's going down. But we thought profits were going up. What's the cause? You notice the accounts receivable number. It's steeply climbing. And we have a significant inventory number sitting on the books. So what is the result of this situation, this trap? Well, let's take a look at our next slide. Our cash flow. You can see the picture on the top shows items in red going in the wrong direction. They're going down. That can't be good. And what do the numbers reveal? Well, notice the very last row in each column. What's happening to our cash balance? It started positively with the investment, but it's steadily decreasing. If you take a look at our next slide, please, you'll see that the last 6 months of this 12-month forecast, You remember at the beginning, we had a very profitable business. In this same year, look at the bank balance at the end of the 12 months, almost 140,000 in the hole. So clearly, can you see how a profitable business can fall into a trap? But using this software, you're able to gauge how you're doing according to targets you set. And using this software, working with a trusted business advisor, you can avoid this trap. So now we'd like to take any questions you might have on that scenario and that model. How can Leanne and I be of help?
First question that we have here is, how do I get my AR under control?
Leanne, would you like to field that first?
Sure. So as you can see, the main concern in that scenario that David just presented was that if you caught that last number, their AR got up over $200,000. So that's where all their money was trapped. It was money waiting to be collected. And what we have found is that with simple processes in place to automate collecting your accounts receivable, you can avoid that altogether. There are a few apps on the market. I won't go into each individual one, but I will say that your trusted advisor can point you in the right direction for one that will help you. And what we find is you really just want to automate the process, because as a small business owner, you don't have time to go chasing after those invoices or making those phone calls. And most of your clients and customers are not trying to avoid paying. They've just forgotten as well because they're busy in whatever they are doing. So having a process in place and a system that's automated is going to help you solve that problem.
Okay. The next question is then, would it be worthwhile putting customers on pre-authorized payment?
Yeah, if you know upfront what the cost is going to be of your service or product, then there's no reason why you can't set that up. And again, there's different apps out there to help you with that process, and your business advisor can help you. It is commonplace in a lot of industries to collect the money up front. And I think that's something that more businesses should adopt, because it allows you to not get into this trap, to not have to worry about chasing your customers. Nobody wants to have that kind of, client relationship where you're, nagging at someone. So definitely a great idea for any business.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all the questions.
Okay, very good. So now we're going to take a look at a second area. And Leanne, why don't you introduce us to this real life example?
All right, so this is trap number 2, which is slow payments from customers. So it sounds a little bit like trap number 1, but what we're looking at here, maybe we can bring up, there we go. I just want to make sure we got all the details here, is there's a discrepancy happening in between customer payments and supplier payments. So imagine your profit and loss as 2 people. One is representing your income, the money you are collecting, and one is representing your expenses, the money you're spending. So imagine if the money you're collecting, that person, we'll call them person A, needs to catch up with person B. If you are always spending the money, person B is moving faster than person A, the gap gets larger. And what you ultimately want to do is you want to make sure the terms on both person A and person B match up so that gap gets smaller, because you need the terms on person A to be collected faster so that there's no gap in your cash flow at all. That gap in cash flow, as you can see, results in cash being drained from your operations and from your day-to-day expenses. And the solution is making sure you've looked at the credit terms and figured out what the best method is for you and your business. So that's both on collecting of money and the terms you put on your customers or clients, but it can also be looking at how fast you're paying your suppliers. Sometimes there's an incentive by your suppliers to pay faster, which is great because we all love to save money. But if that cash flow isn't there, you may have to hold off a little bit longer and wait the full term before making that payment. David, do you want to demonstrate that for us?
Sure. Thank you, Leanne. So here we're taking us back to that same scenario again. Okay. We have the same projected profit and loss. As we talked before, revenue's going up. Profit is continuing to go up on the top and bottom rows that you see there. And our next slide is showing us the same profitable model. Things look good on the surface, on paper. But then if we take a look at the next slide with our balance sheet, okay, what are we seeing? You notice if you take a look at the fourth number from the top is called accounts receivable. And you can see that number is steeply climbing. Whereas if you take a look at accounts payable, that's about 2/3 down the page under current liabilities that you see in bold print there. The first row is accounts payable. You can see it's only modestly climbing. So there's a disconnect. Accounts receivable is fastly outgrowing the speed in which accounts payable is growing. And so the result, we see that trend continuing in the last 6 months of this typical year. And so let's look at the next slide, the cash flow. You see, it's moving in the wrong direction. It's red, it's going down. You can see the cash at the very last row on this page. It's continuing to decrease. And if you take a look at the next slide, that's a big reason why the cash flow at the end of this year is so poor. It's because, as Leanne mentioned, there's a mismatch between the terms that customers are paying you and the terms that you're paying suppliers. So now we'd like to take some questions on this scenario or anything else that's on your mind.
First question that I have here is, how do I get my AR and my AP in proper balance? What approach is best used?
Leanne, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like in our scenario, the idea is you need to be watching the terms. So what terms are you offering your clients? So what we're referring to there are they expected to pay, say, net 15 days, meaning they're expected to pay within 15 days of being invoiced? Is it net 30? If you're expecting, let's say, net 60 from your clients, but your suppliers have you on net 15, you can see that's clearly a big disconnect. And by utilizing the software, as David's been demonstrating, we can often see how just shifting something real simple, like what if I collected this at 30 days instead? Or what if I simply held off and paid this, 10 days later? That will start to close up that gap. And we can see, what you need to do in order to align those terms to work for your business.
Yes, and so as Leanne was mentioning, the software tool that we use allows you to model the number of days that you give your customers to pay you and the number of days you've been given to pay your suppliers. And you can, in real time, adjust those numbers and you can see instantly what happens to your cash flow. So now you can start setting targets and seeing the value of making those credit term adjustments. And then you can see how your actual financial results meet those targets because you've worked with your customers, you worked with your suppliers, and your business now is on a stable footing. So this software tool that we use really provides you in real time with graphs and pictures. You instantly can see the effect on your business.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all the questions we have for now.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look at a third real life potential trap. Leanne, what is it?
All right, so trap number 3, your gross margin is decreasing. So you've set up your business and you have everything in line and you're saying, well, my product costs this, and so therefore I'm going to charge this and my margin's going to be great and I'm going to make lots of money. However, you notice revenues are increasing, but costs are increasing even faster. So yes, you're selling, but especially, I'm sure many are finding in the last year, if inflation goes up far faster than you are increasing your own prices, there becomes a disconnect within that. The one example we have here is the construction industry. It's probably one of the most obvious, but I don't think there's an industry out there that isn't affected by this at some point or another. Imagine this year, a construction job gets quoted and they say, well, it's going to cost us this much for materials and this much for labor, and that's all fine and well, and they've got a good margin built into it. And then by the time they go to buy the materials, the cost of lumber has gone up. And now that's eating into their profit, it's eating into their margins. Certainly, labor costs can increase as well. Your workforce suddenly demands that they, require more money. These are all scenarios that can happen in business. So the result is that gross profit decreasing and you finding that there's that greater discrepancy. So right now, the solution is to constantly monitor what is going on in your industry. You want to make sure you're quoting with enough knowledge to know that you've got a buffer worked in there for increase in materials and so forth. And definitely the software can help you model this. As David said several times, we can put in these scenarios and figure out where the discrepancies are so that we can solve this problem before it becomes a bigger issue. David, do you want to demonstrate that?
Yes. So to make things simple, we're using this same model that we started with our other two scenarios. Do you notice what's interesting about this particular model is if you take a look at the 5th row, the 2nd row under the bold print direct costs, you see the gross margin percentage. What do you notice right across every month? It's consistent. It's stable. That's what you're looking for in your business. You're looking for consistent, stable gross margins. If we take a look at our next slide, this is one thing this business has done well. Notice the gross margin there was consistent right across every month. Now, the projected balance sheet, as we looked at earlier on this slide and our next slide, we take a look at our next slide there also, please. They still are having challenges with cash. You notice cash is still decreasing in the wrong direction. And if we take a look at our next slide, cash flow still is a concern as you look at the bottom row. And then on our next slide, the rest of the year, cash still ends up in a poor position. But you can see that one of the things this business was doing well was maintaining regular, stable gross margins. So this is a real practical example to show you that there are many traps to avoid. And sometimes you might do well at avoiding one. Here, this business was doing well. It was avoiding that decreasing gross margin trap. It maintained 40% gross margin every month. But you can see other traps caught up with the business. So that's why working with a trusted business advisor helps you, because using this software tool, we can help small business owners see what they're doing well at, what they're being successful at, and achieving their targets, and areas of concern or areas where improvement can be made. And you can work with your trusted business advisor to get all of these factors in the positive direction. So now we come to our final question and answer period. So are there any questions on what we've seen on this scenario or any other part of our webinar?
First question I have here is, when doing estimates, how do I achieve the gross margin?
Leanne, would you like to start?
Sorry, I was still on mute. Yes, so when you're doing estimates, as we've mentioned, what you want to do is utilize programs like LivePlan, and your business advisor can advise you on, well, if this job's going to be this much and this is the materials for that job, what is that going to look like? Those are all scenarios that can be built out before you present that estimate out to the customer or client.
And something I might add is Leanne mentioned before that there are special apps that can connect to your QuickBooks Online so that you can seamlessly have data from your estimates and your invoices flow right into your QuickBooks Online. And just like Leanne, we have seen apps work really well when you're doing the estimating process. You make sure you've got estimated costs for labor at the right amount. You've got estimated costs for materials and the right amount. And then you're able to calculate an estimate to make sure your gross margin is hitting your target number before you propose it to a customer or a prospect. And that way you're able to ensure that each estimate meets your target. And the idea being that that would mean that overall, in all projects, your business is meeting its target. So we find that apps, as Leanne mentioned before, can be shared with you, introduced to you, and you can find them very easy tools to use even on mobile devices to be able to meet with customers and prospects and to price effectively.
Okay. And the next question is, can you give us a little bit more information on LivePlan, and do you use LivePlan in your practice?
Okay, so maybe I'll field that question. Yes, so we introduce LivePlan as a tool as soon as possible with all of our business clients. We really think that a business owner needs to know their numbers and have access to current information. And so what we find is it's important for the business owner to set targets like we talked about in this business plan, and then see how their actual business is doing compared to those targets. So LivePlan will provide that as well. You didn't see it in this particular presentation because there's so much to LivePlan to show. But another feature of LivePlan is you can take these forecasts that we've been talking about today, and you can compare the data side by side to how your business is actually doing. You can see where there are differences compared to what you were hoping to achieve and what you actually achieved. And as we said, if you do that every 30 days with your trusted business advisor, you can continue to focus on one tweak at a time, one significant adjustment And you can do that over time until your business is avoiding all of these traps we've talked about, and you're growing a more successful business faster. So we introduced this software where, as you saw there, we're expert certified in the software. We think every business owner should be having some type of tool like this to benefit from every month.
Okay, thank you, David. Last question is, you had mentioned meeting every 30 days. Is that best, or should you do sooner or later?
Leanne, would you like to share some thoughts there first?
Yeah, so I don't know that there's one answer to that question, because really it's going to be based on what your vision and goals are. There would absolutely, with any, thing, be benefits to escalating it. I don't know that I would want to slow it down too much, but at the same time, it might depend on where your business is at. If you're in a period of pause or so forth, you may be able to be a bit slower, but I think there's incredible value to consistency. And that monthly meeting tends to be the sweet spot. David?
Yes, I agree with what Leanne shared. What I might pose as a question to answer the question is, if you're on a sailing ship, how often would you look at the compass? Would you just look at it once a day? Well, imagine how far off track you could be by the next time you looked at the compass. We feel that this dashboard that LifePlan provides is like that compass. It helps you to see where you are compared to the map, your forecast. And you can constantly be tweaking, just like tweaking the movement on a ship to stay on course. So as Leanne mentioned, the sweet spot often is monthly. But it was very interesting. Recently, I had a client say that monthly is not going to be fast enough to get the results he wanted. He says to wait 30 days before we talk again. He says that's not growing fast. So he's asked to meet twice a month. In fact, every 2 weeks we have meetings, because he has targets he'd like to reach over 5 years. He has a clear target to reach. He knows where he is now. And he knows if he wants to get there in 5 years, he can't be waiting 30 days before another improvement or another strategy discussion is held. So we're meeting every 2 weeks with this particular client. Some like to have virtual weekly meetings just to touch base on cash flow and what's happening. But as Leanne mentions, we often find that clients see the value of at least meeting every 30 days to keep the business on track towards their targets.
Okay. Well, thank you, David and Leanne. And that's all the questions that we have.
Well, thank you, Sandra, for monitoring that for us and sharing all these excellent questions from our attendees. So we have some closing thoughts for you. As we mentioned, we feel that every small business owner should really be monitoring the performance of their business regularly. We propose that LifePlan is a tool working along with your trusted business advisor that can help you do just that. We would be happy to sit down with you and explore right now on a virtual Zoom session. We can walk you through what the software can do for you. You've seen a glimpse of this software. There are many other components to it. You can even see how your business is doing compared to the entire industry that you're in. You can see the benchmarks in North America, how businesses like yours are faring, and see how you measure up against these benchmarks. There's so much we could share. We really feel that you would benefit from having this introductory discussion with us about this software or some other tool that you might prefer. but we invite you to look at having a tool, a financial dashboard that you can monitor your performance of your business. So some next steps. As we mentioned earlier, if you haven't yet already done so, please download the free ebook that you have an opportunity to benefit from. Start reading it. Start applying the practical suggestions. It gives you step-by-step the order in which to take 5 steps fast to get your business moving in the right direction. We invite you to join our Facebook group, and you'll be introduced how to do that in the follow-up email to this webinar. As we mentioned, you are welcome to book a free discovery call. We can have a 15-minute discussion. Where's your business at? What's on your mind? What would you like help with? And then if you've enjoyed this webinar and have benefited from the practical information, join us next month. Next month is going to be very exciting because there's one thing you can do to avoid pitfalls, and there's things you can do to decrease costs. But the biggest win for a business is when they do the right things right to grow their revenue. That's how you grow a successful business. And the key to growing your revenue clearly is marketing. So Leanne and I are really looking forward to next month sharing with you how you can do your marketing strategically so that you can grow your business faster. So we can't wait till next month. And we hope all of you joining us today will be with us. And we look forward to connecting with you on social media, by discovery calls, helping you to grow your business faster. So thank you for joining us. And as our slide says, we truly do wish you every success in your business journey. Leanne, some final thoughts?
Just, you know what, go out there, enjoy this beautiful day, and conquer your business. Best of luck till next time.
From Leanne and I, bye for now. We look forward to seeing you on our next webinar.